Morning, and welcome listeners to the podcast exploring the dynamic world of payroll in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm your host, Anirudh Ghosh, and today we dive deep into the transformation that's happening and how business is managing their most valuable asset, the people. The Saudi Arabian landscape is rapidly evolving, driven by the ambition Vision 2030 and a commitment to the technology advancement. This growth is reflected in the expanding workforce. This surge in employment naturally drives parallel expansion and complexity and an importance of efficient payroll system. And an area experiencing particularly an exciting time is the payroll itself. No longer are we talking about dusty ledgers and manual calculations. The wave of technology powered by AI and automation is crashing onto the shores of payroll, bringing with it unprecedented efficiency, accuracy, and insights. In the next 45 to 60 minutes, we'll uncover how these technological inventions and revolutions that is happening is impacting the KSA payroll. We will be speaking with industry experts, payroll professionals, and technology trailblazers who are at the forefront of this exciting revolution. They will be sharing their first-hand experiences, offer practical advice, and paint a picture of the future of the payroll in the kingdom. Hope you enjoyed the session. We would be taking some live questions today in the chat box, and we would try our best to answer all of them. Without any further ado, let me introduce the panelists for today's podcast. To my immediate left, I have Sanjay Bhattacharya from Protivity. He is the Middle East head of people, advisory, and organization change. Sanjay is not only a speaker today, he's also a dear friend. I also have Kautar Makash with me from Circly. She leads the payroll and the compliance across MENA region. I have Milind Trivedi, also Vice President Task Corporate Services, with 20 plus years experience in the HR tech space in the region. It's not every day that I'm on the other side of the table asking questions. Usually the day starts with questions being asked to me. Let me start the session today, Sanjay, with you.
Hello.
Sanjay, can you give us an overview and paint a picture of the payroll landscape in Saudi Arabia, how it has evolved over the year, and what are you observing as a practitioner?
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here with this exciting team. Payroll has always been my forte, my strength for almost 25 years, and I've worked across Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia, working both as a comp and ben specialist as well as implementer of various payroll systems. And I've seen how payroll used to be in the early 2000s and now. And as we are moving, earlier days when I used to be a comp and ben specialist, we used to see payroll as a data entry systems, a calculation mechanisms where a system that calculates and tells me what is my pay at the end of the month. Full of manual interventions. Payroll officers were grumpy old people who would just sit in front of laptops looking at the system. No interaction with people, hardly any knowledge of the aspect of employee experience. But as we are moving into the transitioning and the way things are going right now, and payroll is becoming quite exciting. So three things are changing, evolving. Number one, payroll is no more a function or a system that calculates, but it is a function that actually drives employee experience through transparency, accuracy, and system driven. The second thing is, which is changing rapidly, is earlier days we used to have a concept called monthly payroll closure, which means on the 15th of a month, everything was shut down and the entire payroll team, 15 or 20 of them, would sit in a room and only do calculations. Gone those days. No more 15 days of closure. It is now becoming that on time, real time payroll calculation, and that is enabled by technology. And we'll come to technology in a minute. The third thing that has happened is governments have become smarter. As we are moving into a more regulated environment, governments want businesses to become smarter when it comes to payroll. The wage protection system, the regulations around labor laws are enabling the organizations, or rather forcing the organizations, to become digital, to become smarter, make sure you pay accurately, pay on time, and report the compliance that you have done it. So those are the things that are changing. The fourth thing that is changing is the technology and the AI that is getting inbuilt into the payroll systems. There is a technology that has become real time and zero error. So there is no more room for any errors. It is now the technology has taken a big role in it. So payroll has gone from being a simple task to being a employee friendly business function, which is critical for financial health of an organization.
Oh, that's fantastic. And thank you for that. I'll move on to the technology part a little later. But we have Kautar with us. And Kautar, you are from the payroll compliance side of the process, right? You are very deeply involved in it. What are the critical obligations businesses must meet when handling payroll in Saudi Arabia? If you can bring some insight to that, that would be really helpful.
So the first step is you need to be registered with the Ministry of Labor, because you need your number to sign up with GOSI. You need also to have it for WPS. So that's step number one. Then you need to know also what are the regulations. And that's where then HRMS systems comes in place, because they guide you through compliance. You need to know that for all nationals, what you need to do, what are the work times, what are the compensations you need to give. So as a company you set up, there are quotas. There's quotas for Sauditization.
Correct.
Call it nikat. And depending on the size of your business, depending on the classification of your business, you are assigned a score.
Correct.
It's like different statuses, premium, green, or red.
Correct.
And depending on the score you have, you can either apply for more work permits to bring in expats outside the country. But if you are in red, you will be blocked. You will not be able to do so, and you can only hire people from inside the country. So there are a lot of regulations you need to know ahead of time before you go out and bring in people or send job offers. And then you have the comma, of course. So everything starts with your MOL ID number, so that you can actually be compliant for all the payroll regulations.
So let me just deep dive a little bit on that. So when you are managing the payroll function in Saudi Arabia, any organization, what are the 2-3 things that they should do at any point of time to stay compliant? They should pay on time. I am assuming one.
Yeah, paying on time. It's critical. Well, like WPS monitors, not only that you pay them the full salary, but as well that you pay them on time. So from the moment you haven't paid any of your employees after the 10th of the following month, you are being asked to provide justification why employee A, B, and C has not been paid. So it's not like the UAE where you have like a threshold. As long as you meet 80%, 70%, you're fine. In Saudi, it doesn't work like that.
Interesting. I'll come back to you, Kautar, on the aspect of GOSI a little later. But let me just move on to Milind. Milind is in the business for quite some time. So Milind, my question to you is, what are the significant challenges businesses in Saudi Arabia face with traditional processes that they might have and which they are transforming? And how's technology helping them to do that?
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Great question, Anirudh. And I think KSA businesses are rapidly shifting towards automation, as we know, because the growth is definitely on a trajectory. We see a huge amount of growth happening in Saudi, and this leads to automation as well. So specifically, when we look at payroll, I think payroll is no exception, and it's on the forefront of technological change, like Sanjay mentioned in the first few minutes. I think, but with growth, there is also challenges which are evident in the industry. So some of the key challenges are manual processes. Industries and business houses are still running certain processes in manual, error prone. There could be miscalculations in overall calculating the payroll, the compliance, the GOSI and other things. Second thing is, I think the regulatory management, the compliance in the industry, because with the rapid change, like Sanjay earlier mentioned, I think even the governments are now having those regulatory compliances made very essential. So these are some of the top challenges which organizations or the industries or business houses are facing in Saudi. Along with this, it also comes the data security part, because now it is a larger exposure of data, and therefore there has to be security in place. Coming to the benefits of having this transformation is also very evident. So when we look at scalability, with the automation, there is scalability which can be relied upon. So with systems in place, you can have a larger scale moving into the applications. Plus, it can also take away from the routine or the mundane tasks, which earlier, like again, going back to Sanjay, so he mentioned about the payroll administrators or the accountants sitting in front of the screen and doing all those tasks manually. So now the systems are taking over and managing everything in a very organized way. And obviously, integration. I think integration with the larger HRMS pieces are building the bridge for the transformation here.
Just want to add something.
Sure,
if you
sure,
allow me.
sure.
Over and above what Milind said, payroll systems are becoming very flexible,
Right.
very adaptive to a particular employee's needs.
True.
And while compliance and GOSI requirements are important, I can actually run payroll for 5,000 employees, and each employee can have a unique payroll requirements, and technology is providing that platform. So large
Absolutely.
organizations are allowing payroll system to become more flexible and individualized.
True. Technology is something which we will deep dive a lot more, right? But I want to complete the full circle on the WPS side of it, which is the compliance side of it. Qatar, WPS sounds complex, right? Everybody hear the word WPS in any part of the world. Can you help us break it down? What is WPS and how does it work?
So it stands for Wage Protection System. What it does, it monitors that employees are being paid on time and their full salary. That's number one. But as well, WPS in Saudi is linked to Sadat. So Sadat is a platform where you have to do your payroll management. It's integrated with Mudad and with GOSI. So Sadat is then a platform, like an electronic payment platform,
Okay.
where you can pay as a business your GOSI contributions and process WPS salaries. On top of that, aside from the payroll, you can pay any bills as well. So it's really a payment method, but it's integrated with payroll and with the salary payments.
Oh, nice.
That's one part. What it also does, it integrates with the Saudi Central Bank.
All right.
And there, they validate not only the fact that employees are being paid on time and full, but as well are the bank accounts correct. So there is where platforms, HRMS systems are super crucial, because if you have an API integration that validates, for example, the IBANs, you pick it up proactively.
True.
Because if it goes out through WPS and you get rejected, your employee experience is
Can go
bad,
bad.
because they will not receive their salaries on time. And so Circly is one of them where there is a validation, so it will automatically trigger. And I think that is like the advantage. You cannot have that if you don't have a technology with you.
True.
Thank you for that. And I think it is very important that you have the whole process automated. Otherwise, you will have data coming in and coming out of the system, which can cause error, right? And I think Saudi is doing a great piece of work integrating the whole process through Mudad and Sadat. Now that we understand the compliance side of it, for our listeners, there's a very interesting question which is coming up. How is the rise of remote work and distributed teams impacting what solutions are available to manage it? And Sanjay, you are in a consulting world, right? So you interact with varied type of businesses and many HR leaders and practitioners. First question to you: are you seeing this remote work being part and integrated in the system? And what are the solutions that you're seeing which will help manage the payroll process in a way that it doesn't disrupt the experience?
Absolutely. This is a new reality. Lucky days where when you used to go to a building in a particular location where people used to work. Not anymore. You have people working in outside the country, hired outside the country, delivering services from outside, traveling in, going out. Life has become quite dynamic. So, I mean, it was good days when all of us used to go to a building, we used to punch our cards, and everybody knew through our punching card system that I have worked, and hence payroll was easy. Now you have a situation where you have remote workers who work with you as gig workers or service providers or contractors, part-time, full-time, different rates. On Monday my rate is X, on Thursday my rate is X, is why I have. So these complexities are bringing additional challenges to the payroll systems. And good news is that the cloud-based payroll systems are able to handle this. Now, what are these challenges and how the challenges are being met? Number one challenge is multi-currency. True. And cloud-based payroll systems, which Circle or Task would handle, are able to handle multi-currency payrolls, True. Which is very easy, not a big deal. The second part is different countries have different tax regulations, corporate tax, individual tax. So there is a tax in Saudi Arabia where if a foreigner is being paid from Saudi, from outside, withholding tax comes into play. That's number one. Number two, if the foreigner is working in Saudi but his salary is being paid in income tax, so all these calculations are being enabled through the payroll systems. The third part is which is the whole aspect of time.
Okay.
Payroll, as you know, depends on time. You worked X hours, X days, and that gets logged. That drives your payroll. Now, time is monitored. Earlier days, time used to be monitored by access card. Now, time is monitored through complex time attendance systems, which various organizations have. And if you are working in a different country, your login time is tracked. You have to enter time sheets. You have to follow a particular time entry mechanism. The payroll systems will take those as input and run your payroll quite seamlessly with zero manual interventions, whether it is overtime calculation, whether it is part-time calculations, whether it is full-time calculations. The input becomes an important part. Monitoring time and attendance is an important aspect, but the technology is able to handle this. So in a nutshell, Saudi businesses have to upgrade their payroll system to become more modern and allow borderless hiring, borderless working in a seamless compliance environment, not only in Saudi Arabia, but also in the local country. So absolutely.
So now that I made Sanjay speak about the remote workforce, I think Sanjay will allow a lot more people to work from Bali rather than from Dubai.
I would love to.
And Sanjay keeps saying good old days. So he's not resonating what the word was here, but yeah, I get the essence of it. Just touching on that same subject and extending it further, Kautar, the Saudi government, and how do you see that the Saudi government, because you manage the payroll part of it, is pushing digitization, like the WPS system, as you talked about, right? Integrating all these pieces. A little bit of more on that how the digitization is being pushed by the Saudi government to make sure this experience changes and the payroll technologies work. A little bit of insight.
So yeah, they have put in place all the tools, right? Because you see how GOSI is linked to Sadat, Mudat, and then you have the payroll platform. So it's really already an end-to-end solution. Then you have the fact that it encourages the businesses to finally drop spreadsheets.
True.
Right? If you are a small business and you can't, you could actually use Muda to start, and then slowly evolve to HRMS systems, many that are in the market. But that's really the main thing that like the government is pushing on. Even if you would apply for work permit, everything is like online. Everything is digital. Contributions, submission, you can on the GOSI portal. It's like really a great platform. You see everything from a company side, but as well like as employees. Employees can log in there. The locals, they can follow all the contributions.
True.
So that is for me like one way.
I think the transparency also is being driven through this technology transformation because they're bringing everything on one platform from employer and employer, both sides of it. Now you can see how the payroll systems are working.
Yeah, because having them, but then like making them speak to each other.
True.
That is the most important part.
Aspect. Just taking this further discussion of digitization forward, another question that popped up in our chat box, which I need to be answered, is what are the future trends, Milind, that you see that Saudi business should be aware of, right? The world is changing. The change is at the speed of tsunami, right? So, such as blockchain, real-time payment, and once you give your views, Sanjay, I want you to also pitch in over here because last night we were talking about the instant pay and all. So, Milind, your views. What are the future payroll technologies that you see?
Certainly. See, we all know about the developments happening in Saudi, right? I mean, it's at a super fast pace, I would say at a lightning pace, especially with the Vision 2030. Along with this, we've also got the FIFA, which is coming up in 2036.
True.
So therefore, having a future-proof technology is not a choice. It is mandatory for the businesses, for the corporates to have it in the kingdom. With this, I think AI is now extensively used. We use AI in apparently every little thing we do, being from marketplace or being even in the e-commerce and so on. But I think the predictive use or predictive analysis of AI is something which is future-proofing from a technology standpoint. So calculating the forecast, calculating the overtime payments, or calculating the absenteeism of the employees. I mean, this is where the future-proofing is taking up shape. Along with this, because we're talking about payroll, anomalies and discrepancies are also great to an extent because large workforce, $1 or 1 dirham or 1 cent here and there causes huge amount of discrepancy. So AI is now being used extensively to identify and detect these type of anomalies.
True.
With this, another point which I'd like to touch upon is from a future proofing in technology is the payment to the gig workers, right? Because now the time has changed. We don't all work in the same building 9 to 5. So therefore, the gig workers, they are on-demand payment. How do you ensure that they are paid on demand? How do you ensure they are paid on project basis? A day rate is different, evening rate is different, Monday rate is different, Wednesday rate is different. So therefore, these technologies must not be ignored.
Okay.
A classic example, I would say, from an employee experience, right? So that's another way of looking at the enhancement or future proofing. So for example, chatbots. So in my past experience, we enabled one of the largest TLV companies globally, about 150,000 employees.
Wow.
So the chatbots took over the question answers, the FAQs completely. So it was a conversational AI built into the chatbots. So about 1.5 to 2.5 million questions were answered by chatbots.
Very nice.
Now that's a huge amount of scale. That's a kind of a future proofing from a technology standpoint, which should be enabled.
True. And before Sanjay touches and tops it up, so during one of the AI courses, they are saying there are 3 levels of disruptions, right? One they are saying is the automation. The first level of AI disruption is automation, right? The second level of AI disruption is transformation.
True.
And the highest level of disruption that the world is seeing right now is reinvention, that you will start doing things
different.
You will not even do those things which you are doing, right? You will do it differently. But Sanjay, your view is important because you are also seeing these technologies from the lens of the people whom you consult with, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, payroll, I would say, is still at the transformation
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
It's not gone into the reinvention level. I hope those days come not as fast as other places. But yes, payroll officers' role, technology that is coming, which Milind just spoke about, and the transformation that is happening, is actually impacting the HR fraternity a lot, especially the people who are in payroll, comp and ben, as well as payroll managers and payroll service providers. Moving from being data entry specialists, calculating salaries, to becoming a different role altogether. Then what are the role changes? What kind of skills they need? First and foremost, technology skill is becoming almost mandatory. You can't be a payroll officer if you don't understand the entire gamut of technology, whether it is a AI technology, chatbot technology, defining the right data systems required. Security is important. The second is payroll officers have now started becoming more compliance and risk specialist as well. They need to have a good understanding of what are the compliance norms, not just in the country but also outside the country. So you need to have more a global understanding of various compliance requirements. You may be following a particular compliance norm in the country, but if you are defaulting elsewhere, you are still liable for fines or penalties. The third part is data security. A payroll officer's role in understanding data and privacy, data security, GDPR, which is global data protection norms, are extremely important because he's dealing with private data, personal data. He's dealing with sensitive personal data, which is both professional as well as for the organization. So his understanding of cybersecurity, potential for data theft, and be trained for data encryption are very critical. Payroll officer is not just about salary calculations anymore. It's about analytics, compliance, technology. Companies need to invest in developing their payroll teams to acquire these skills. Lastly, I must say, payroll officers should stop thinking that they are payroll officers. They should think they are analysts, they are analytical, they are comp and ben, they are total rewards. They are also responsible for employee experience. Gone are those days when payroll officers would feel proud that they are the ones who are giving pay. No, they are the ones who are impacting employee experience, and it's important they understand that people work for money and employees are very keen to know how payroll officers can impact employee experience.
Actually, you brought in a very interesting aspect of it. People think technology will make humans not so valuable. But what you said right now and what I heard from you, you are saying actually the technology will make the payroll people more valuable in the business because they are moving away from a transactional job to an advisory job, to a job which is actually impacting the higher level of business.
Absolutely.
That's a very interesting aspect.
Absolutely. Gone are those days when payroll officers were considered as compliance or security guards or for the
Authoritative.
system.
Yeah.
And now it is becoming a role where they are becoming much more advisory, strategic, more impactful, more valuable, because they don't need to be answering to queries. They need to be adding value.
True.
As a 15-year, as being for 15 years in payroll outsourcing, working with payroll professionals, I think this is really a great moment for payroll professionals because they never were only doing transactional tasks. They never were only calculating salaries.
True.
As a payroll specialist, you cannot be a payroll specialist if you don't look beyond that. Because as a payroll specialist, you know the payroll specifications better than most of the time the customers, because that's your role. You are an extension of your customer when you do payroll outsourcing, right? You make sure that there is business continuity, there is succession planning, because you gather all these insights, and because of your knowledge of the labor law, you actually go into that advisory role. But now it will be recognized finally.
True. And that then goes with a thumbs up to all the people who are in the payroll function and doing a great piece of work. I think this time is pivoting. This time is transforming. Just staying on the subject of the technology, Milan, the AI-driven systems are expected, right? And they're expected to do so, right? My question to you is that how are the AI-driven systems reducing the errors, fraud, or the risks in compliance, specifically in the Saudi Arabian business, because it's transforming, right? It's growing very fast. So how is AI actually helping to drive those three elements? If you can bring some light to that.
Sure, definitely. I think just continuing on our discussions, I think today Gen AI is revolutionizing the way the payroll calculations were happening, right? The payroll managing, especially with the automating of multiple tasks, so providing intelligent insights. So there's a Gartner, I was reading a Gartner report which says AI integration in HR technology, especially in the payroll, will reduce the administrative workload by about 35% by the end of 2025. And we are already in towards the third week of Feb. So I think the day is not far. Again, I'm quoting Gartner because 40% of the compliance and financial discrepancies or the data errors as we speak will be minimized by using Gen AI. So Gen AI is there, and there is then agentic AI, which is again picking up for the employee experiences. So intelligent payroll calculations, I think the AI algorithms which are already built, and there is a lot of machine learning which has happened in last few years, which is enabling the avoidance of compliance or the risks with regards to data, with regards to security, and especially handling the taxation. Because when we look at the benefits or deductions, I think there's no more a manual calculation or an Excel which is happening. So it is an AI technology which is now prompting you if there is an error.
True. We touched upon the subject of, and thank you for that insight, Milind, because we might come back to that theory of agentic AI a little later. We spoke about compliance. We spoke about technology, but I think in this whole value chain, the most important part is the employee, the end user, right? Sanjay, my question to you is, how does this whole discussion around payroll automation, those whole discussion around AI, how do you think it is impacting the employee experience at the end of the day, which is very, very key and pivotal in any business, right?
Absolutely. So, what are the employees looking for? They're looking for transparency, they're looking for accuracy, they're looking for personalization. I am a particular persona. I am a bachelor, working class, and I need certain expectations. So personalization of payroll is becoming extremely critical, and flexibility. So these flexibility, personalization on accurate payrolls are important employee experience factors. Now, what has happened is various payroll flexibility opportunities have come in place, which is supporting or actually addressing these employee experience factors. Number one being the on-demand payroll. Everybody's talked about on-demand. True. It's not just for the service providers, it is also now becoming enabled for the employees. If I've worked for 10 days and I have a requirement, I can actually request for an on-demand payroll or even early wage. So these are new concepts that are coming in place that are enabling you to allow for early payment or on-demand payment. The next is being that employees can actually withdraw early salary even if they want to. I mean, this was unheard of 5 years, 10 years back.
Yes.
People can actually ask for early payment and they can actually run the payment without any manual intervention. So nobody, as long as there are approvals in place. These kind of technologies are also, there's also a concept called blockchain driven payroll, which will revolutionize the entire payroll from a personalization point of view, security point of view, as well as making completely tamper proof. The third one is predictive payroll, which means that you can actually predict over the next 3 years or 2 years how much would be your cost of payroll, and those are the things that actually payroll people need to start embracing as we move into the era of AI and Gen AI and artificial intelligence. So I had an example. I don't know whether we have time for an example.
Sure, go ahead.
So we used to work for a healthcare organization, which is just 3 months back. used to run on a legacy system which was manual, which was and healthcare. You are serving the healthcare professionals, and by nature, healthcare professionals have a very unique requirement. Absolutely, you can never please them.
You don't want to have a doctor in a bad mood.
Yeah. So the entire system was archaic. They were having too much issues. They were doctors, nurses were complaining, and that's when they actually completely transformed their payroll from being more policy and rule driven to being employee experience driven. And they actually did the entire transformation in just 3 months, because of the fact that you have smart technologies available which can transform your legacy payroll to a new payroll. And if I have more time, I can explain more. But otherwise, the key buzzword was personalization and employee experience. And most organizations who want to attract best-in-class talent, they have to offer best-in-class payroll systems.
I think we should also have a fun allowance somewhere built in. But I will come to that topic later on. Now, again, moving on a little bit towards away from technology and from experience. Milind, there's this bluebird we talk about, payroll outsourcing, right? Many organizations do it. Many organizations believe in it. How do you think and why do you think Saudi Arabia is gaining traction in this whole payroll outsourcing space?
Sure. I think let me answer this with a quote from Azim Premji, who's a founder of Wipro. So he says the important thing about outsourcing is to leverage talent, improve productivity, and reduce work cycles. So that's a big statement. Mm-hmm. However, when you come to payroll outsourcing, it's nothing but moving the so-called simplified task or so-called simple tasks to an outsourcing experienced and a vendor who can provide the services, managing the overtime, managing leave, attendance, payroll, complex calculations, and so on, and ensuring that the pay slips are delivered on time and the employee is happy. So there is a concept of having and self-auditing in a pay slip. So if I can audit my pay slips on my own, I'm really happy because I know where is my deduction and where is my payment and bonus. So the idea is, several factors which can drive this traction on the payroll outsourcing. One is obviously managing compliance and statutory, because an expert vendor or a service provider will know how to manage compliances, how to manage statutory. Cost is another major factor, because having an in-house system, I need the resources, I need training, it's an CapEx, it's an OpEx, and it runs into millions of dollars of investments. Having this outsourced to a vendor, you pay as you go. So you have a lot of prediction in what you're going to pay, and you pay as you scale up. And last but not least, I think the employee pay slips, the happy employee, is an ultimate goal which you have and can achieve it with delivering a payment on time.
Great. Just to extend that question, in the interest of time, quickly, Kautar, what do you think businesses should look like? Because you are also in the same business, right? What should the businesses look for in a service provider while they're choosing an outsourcing partner? If you can give me top 2 or 3 key areas.
I'll go a little bit more, but because there are so many things that are missed out on and are so crucial for any business. Specifically, if you look at Saudi now, if you have a company there, you need to have locals, right? And the bigger you are, the more you scale, the more you're gonna have to bring them on, and they ask for specific letters in Arabic.
Correct.
Which HRMS system provides data in Arabic?
Okay, so you're saying language capability is one of them.
Language for sure, and that comes with localization.
Sure.
You have also specific needs when it comes to letters. Employees need an HR letter to exit and to re-enter the country. You don't have that here in the UAE, and even the Arabic, I predict it's going to be something that we will see here in the UAE because, and every year it's increasing. So if you welcome Arabic speakers, they also speak English, but GOSI, GPSSA, they will ask certain things in Arabic.
Sure. So I got it. The letters part is one. Okay.
Yeah. Then you have a very intuitive, user-friendly platform.
Okay, interesting.
Because the UI of most systems are not the best. The fact that it's localized, that you can actually have a system for here in MENA, but as well add your global workforce.
Okay.
And integration. We spoke about it.
Right.
Integration, because from an employee experience, they're not always going to log or want to log into another system.
Okay.
Most companies nowadays, they have Slack. You should be able to integrate that into your HRMS system so that all requests, leave or expenses can be managed through Slack, and it speaks to one single source of truth.
Sure.
So I think these things are really, really important, because employees want things quick and easily.
Correct.
Not having different systems to log into and that doesn't speak with each other.
So that speaks volume of her experience. So she simply articulated it so well. She said regulatory later capabilities, language, scalability globally, and it should be localized within. Thank you, Kautar, for that insight. I think I have only time for one last question, and there are a lot of questions coming from the audience, but one last question that I have is, this question is around industries, right? So what I was bothered about, that there are changes are happening, right, Sanjay? But these changes are different to different industries, right? How do you see, and do you see actually, my question is, that how Saudi Arabia payroll is adapting to meet different industry needs in that region? If you can give me a quick insight to it.
Absolutely. The industry actually dictates, rather mandates, the payroll's functionality. So you cannot have a one-size-fit-all payroll systems. Construction, which is project-driven, blue-collar worker, needs a different payroll setup or capability than any other sectors. It will have aspects of work timings, hazard allowance, certain things which are shift-based, night-based, different work timing. Those are important. Healthcare is completely different. It's about routine. It's about night duty versus overtime, operation theater. All these nuances are being handled by the payroll systems. Retail is another classic examples where the people work on weekly shifts, and the payroll needs to be able to understand those weekly shifts and drive payroll based on that. There's a lot to speak about, and I would say payroll officers do not have to have those understanding, because the system already captures those. So you will have an AI which understands the retail environment or the healthcare environment or the construction environment, and actually run payroll based on those configurations. Or else you use a service provider like Task or others who have the capability to provide industry-specific payroll solutions.
No, thank you for that. And a panel like this, it is very difficult to finish a podcast on time, but we are conscious of your day and we are conscious of the time. I will just take 30 seconds to conclude it. But before that, thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Kautar, and thank you, Milind, for your valuable insights. I hope all of you got something. There are a lot more questions coming in the chat, but we are trying to answer, and we will send out the answers as possible. But if I have to conclude today's discussions, technology is rapidly addressing the challenges associated with traditional payroll processing globally and in Saudi Arabia by adopting automated payroll systems which are AI driven. It will help us build a much more structured, streamlined processes which can enhance employee experience, which is extremely important. These innovations are making payroll more efficient, transparent, secure, and business focused for their strategic growth. I hope you had a good time with us. I hope the insights are valuable. I hope it reinforced your belief and your knowledge, what you had, and you got some advices of how to make it streamlined in your organization. Thank you so much for being on this podcast with us. I wish you all a great day ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.